Yeah, he should go. Hey guys, I'm Damien Karowski here from overundertalk.com to talk about today's Moneyball slate. It's February the 6th and there's a 10-game slate on today, a lot of big games, a lot of big plays, and I'm joined here to talk about them with Trent Arnold, aka Trent Arnold NBA. How you doing today, Trent?
Yeah, good, Damien. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just keen to get into this. It was a pretty full-on morning trying to get set up. We switched to a new room to stream from, so been a bit under the pump, but we're good to go now and give you all the news and all the picks for the day. And the way we're going to do it today is we're going to go through position. We're going to talk about the plays we like, and then we'll just kind of give like a yes or no on the other plays. So after we discuss the biggest ones of the day. So we'll start off with the point guard position. Is there anyone there you like today specifically?
Yeah, so one of my favourites for the day, Derrick Rose, coming off a good game, 38.7 in the last one, and he's averaging 26.1 about in his last 5 games, and it's a great matchup against Denver. And I've kind of noticed a little bit lately that his confidence is just seeming to spike a little bit, and we've seen a lot more highlight plays lately from Rose. So I think that in the form that he seems to be in against Denver, he should be in for another good game, and his price is very reasonable.
Yeah, there's another one there. I'm not sure what the final word on it has been, but Jimmy Butler was probable. Now, that doesn't really affect Rose too much, I don't think. I think he's a good play regardless. But if Jimmy doesn't go, that's amazing for Derek. And I would be very surprised if they actually played Jimmy after holding him out. They said they were going to be careful with his knee. But now he's all of a sudden back after a 1-game absence. That's just a little bit sus for me.
And that's actually another interesting one for E'Twaun Moore, who is in the starting lineup, even if Jimmy plays apparently. So they've got him listed at shooting guard and Jimmy's listed at small forward for the starting lineups. And he's coming from a 39-point game and he's only at 3,500.
Yeah.
So as maybe not, we're not 100% sure that he's going to put up production, but as a tournament player guy that's just put up a 39, I think that's a nice little look there at point guard.
Yeah, it is, and that one's obviously dependent, I think, mostly on the Jimmy Butler situation, and we'll obviously keep you up to date if any news on him comes through while we're streaming. We'll just kind of chuck it out there for you. But yeah, if Jimmy doesn't go, E'Twaun Moore is certainly worth a look. He's because he's just a value play. Like Derek himself is a value play, but yeah. E'Twaun Moore is cheaper. And he's going to have the role in the game if Jimmy doesn't go. But yeah, like I said, we can't be sure of that until a little bit later on. But yeah, coming off a 39-point game, that's outstanding.
It's a nice little form.
And like people might see that name and be like, who the hell is E'Twaun Moore? But yeah, he's getting a run.
They apparently do like him in Chicago, so
yeah,
fans are questionable with it, but I know the coaching staff apparently like him.
Yeah. So at the point guard, I like Derrick Rose as well. He's probably going to be one of my plays for the day if salary permits. But another one I like around the same price, just a little bit cheaper, is Emmanuel Mudiay, the guy that Derrick Rose will be facing off against today in Denver. So Mudiay's been pretty steady since he got back in the starting lineup with Jameer Nelson's injury. You see a couple of down ones here, but outside of that, he's been really consistent and really good. And that's because he's always going to have the ball in his hands, and he's very, very dominant at the ball. And he, as much as I'm a Nuggets fan and I hate to see it, he loves to shoot. He cannot shoot. He's got one of the ugliest jumpers I've ever seen, but he chucks it up anyway.
You got to take him.
Yeah, and I might not like seeing that as a Nuggets fan, but as a fantasy player, I love seeing that. And yeah, Mudiay will be the kind of person that will take double-digit shots. Hopefully dish out upwards of 5 assists and then just kind of get his own on the rebounds and everything. So he's certainly in play today at 5'2", but there are a lot of options around that price. As we mentioned, Derrick Rose is only 400 above, so if you have to pick between the two, I think you maybe go up to Derrick Rose if possible, but I don't think there's any harm in going down to Mudiay. So yeah, already we've got 2 just mid-range point guards.
Yeah, they're really good options
for great days. Do you have any more?
I think George Hill's also another one in that similar kind of range, and he's a good play. We've talked about him actually a fair bit over the last few games, and he's putting up about 26.5 over the last 5, and see that 39 there, which was a good game. I actually recommended him and played him on that day that he scored 39, so that was really good for me. And he's coming off another 24.8 against Brooklyn, and at 5'1", if he's putting up 24.8s, I mean, that's kind of what you want. And if he does go for a 39 like he did in that other game, well, that's excellent. So I think he's a good sort of low floor, high ceiling kind of guy there.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Coming up against the Hawks, who are kind of a neutral matchup for point guards, but that's not an issue at 5'1". He plays so many minutes.
Yeah, with that game time.
Yeah, like his game time is always there, but even then I'm surprised by his output in that game time. He's been unbelievable recently. And just kind of out of nowhere, him and Monte Ellis from that team just somehow turned into fantasy staples.
Paul George needed it as well because he wasn't getting much help early in the season.
Yeah. But that when he wasn't getting much help, that was good for his fantasy stock. And now it's not so much so. But so that's 3 around the same price that are all in line for good games. So when it comes to that, it's really which 2 of the 3 do you like? We might not even end up playing 2 of these 3.
Yeah.
But like if we had to rank these guys, if we had to stagger them, how would we go?
I would probably think Derrick Rose is the guy because besides from the game that he got injured, once you come back, the last 4 games he's averaging almost 32 per game. So looking at his salary, that's like more than 5 times value, obviously. And if you're going to get a 30 from Derrick Rose at that price, that's really good. Moody, I think we can expect probably a 25, and George Hill's probably looking maybe 20 to 30, but I'm not 100% certain on what it is. So I'd probably go Rose, Moody against Chicago, and then George Hill probably 3rd on that run.
I think that's exactly the same for me. I think Derrick Rose is the clear-cut number 1. Moutier, you're going to get the production. Hill, you're going to get the minutes. But I'm going to take the usage rate and the production of Moutier over the minutes and kind of like the hopefulness of George Hill. If you go Hill over Moutier, you're hoping that he actually does work in his minutes, whereas Moutier, you know he's going to do work in his minutes, even if they're slightly less minutes. So I think they're the plays there at that mid-range. Elfrid Payton's around the same thing, but his matchup isn't excellent, so I think we avoid that one. But so they're the clear-cut best plays of the day at point guard. But obviously there are elite point guards that need to be discussed. So let's just quickly run through them, see how we look. First one up is big dog John Wall with an excellent matchup. But do we like him at all at 10-3?
Well, I really did want to throw John Wall out there because he's a really interesting one. His price is getting fairly high, but this is a great matchup. Philly aren't very good against point guards, and look at his form lately. I mean, he's averaging about 47 over the last 5, and he's come off a 60.6 game against the Warriors. And the Warriors aren't great against point guards themselves because obviously they play at such a fast pace. But this game's also expected to the over-under of 215, so there's going to be a lot of points in this game.
Day, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, coming off a 41-10 game, John Wall's got to be in heavy consideration there.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. If Steph Curry was playing today as well, people would be like, oh, Steph coming off a 51-point game, whatever, he's on fire. And John Wall might have been underrated if that was the case. But now that Steph's not playing today, people will know, John Wall's just been excellent.
Yeah.
So I think he might be fairly widely played today. So that's really my only qualm about the whole situation. But I do like him as a play, excellent matchup. And as we just mentioned, he was on fire last game.
He played really well getting to the rim, and you'd expect the same thing will happen against Philly. So
Chris Paul at all? I don't like him.
No, I'm not interested in that matchup.
And another one that might have replications for other positions, Rajon Rondo was questionable, upgraded to probable now. So we'll discuss more on that later when we get to the other positions. But I don't think there's anyone really worth paying up for today. All the matchups, all the favourable ones seem to be in the mid-range.
Yeah, which is really good ones are in the mid-range.
Yeah. And Jeremy Lin's around the same price, but Kemba's back today, so anyone thinking that they're going to chase his 37-point game or whatever it was that he had yesterday, probably evade it.
It's not a great matchup against Miami because they're slow as well, so playing all those point guards isn't going to work too well for fantasy production.
So these are our 2 picks for now. We can come back if salary permits later. Ooh. Whoops. Jeez, you got that one? Bit of a tumble in the new office. Not a great start.
The setup is a little bit shaky.
Yeah,
but we're back on target.
All right. So if salary permits, we will upgrade later. Really?
Yeah, definitely keep John Wall in mind if the salary's there.
Oh, for sure. So moving on to shooting guard. And this is another one where there is one elite play who is in a weird situation right now, but we'll get to him after we discuss our favourite players. So who's your top play for the day, Trent?
I think my favourite play, it's not a huge upside play, but one that I really like is Wayne Ellington on a bargain price. And it's basically because he's been really consistent over his last 7 or 8 games. Not putting up huge scores. All his scores range between like 16 and 24. But today he's playing the Sacramento Kings, who play a really fast game. The over-under is 213.5, and they're one of the worst teams against shooting guards. I think they're in the bottom 5. So against a team like that, I think that his upside's looking more towards the 25 range. And for 3,700, I mean, that's a really good return. So I like him.
So this is the way I like to look at these ones, in particular the really cheap ones. What do you think his floor is?
I would think that his floor, obviously, you've seen it against Miami, 16. That's in a bad matchup. And then Detroit's a bad matchup at 16, so I'd probably put his floor closer to 20 in this one, just because a good matchup and a higher paced game, and I think it's close to 20.
Well, if his floor's 20, I think he's got to be a must play, right?
Yeah.
That's a 5-time value floor. Even if his floors are 16, that's exceeding 4 times, and I'm very happy with that. Yeah, I've got him in my lineup today just purely based on price. It allowed me to pay up elsewhere. And the guy that I've paired him with is Bradley Beal. Now, this is a weird one. I've played him a couple of times since he came back from his injury, and both times I've been kind of let down. Like, it hasn't really worked out. But he's coming off his first really good game since he came back from injury, and even before that he had a decent one with a 23. But this 28 is so promising for me because we know what Bradley Beal can do. He's one of the best young guards in the league, and I really want to play him the first day that he goes for over 30, like after coming back, and I'm going to do it even if that just means playing him every day, but I'm not going to do that. And I think today could be the day. With a matchup against Philly, as we said, they're just woeful as a team. But I think he's the second best shooting guard play after Ellington. But this is where we're going to start coming into some issues. Here's the Philly recent form, by the way, 45.1 a game to shooting guards. That's crazy, most in the league. But now, what are we doing? We have barely none of our salary committed, and it's like we're 4 players in.
It's not always the worst position to be in.
It's not. It can be very good, but at the moment we're looking very good as far as salary goes.
I think with the point guard situation, there's upgrades aplenty, but with the shooting guard, you have to kind of go for these very options because, especially with Jimmy Butler as a game time decision, I mean, we don't really like Giannis against Utah, do we? Or Monte Ellis at his price range now at 7.4 is a little bit, you kind of stay away from that. So these cheaper guys are the ones that you can kind of expect your return from.
So Jimmy, as a game time decision, if he goes, do we like him? He's in a great matchup against Denver.
I mean, I definitely think you'd have to consider him because Denver, I'm not sure exactly where they are, but they're bottom 5 against shooting guards.
Also.
Yeah, so that's a matchup you'd have to consider. But with Derrick Rose playing some pretty good basketball lately, that does kind of take away from Butler's sort of how much you like him, I guess. We obviously don't know the Butler situation, but we'll keep you posted as it unfolds. But if he can go, it's interesting. We got a tweet from M Smith. Does it worry you guys that Beal isn't starting? No, no. He's been coming off the bench even when he did that 28. I don't think that's an issue for him because he's gonna get his minutes, and more than that, he's gonna have his usage rate. That guy shoots more shots than maybe even he should, but he's got the nicest jump shot stroke in the league at the moment, in my opinion. But you have a look at his minutes over the last game. Even though he's been coming off the bench, he's got 26, 29 minutes, 26, and then 29 again. So it's going to be upwards of 25. And it's probably going to be close to 30. Yeah,
and that's them working him in.
They
said they were going to work him back into the rotation, and he's been worked into it. Now I think they start to expand it. Whether they expand it above 30 today, who knows? But the matchup's great enough that even if he gets those 29 minutes, he'll get his production and it'll be great. Generally I don't like playing people that don't start, but when it is a usual starter that's just coming off the bench, I don't really have an issue with that.
Especially means that if we're playing against bench units, so say 15 minutes against a bench unit, it's a lot more easy to score against than 15 minutes against the starting unit generally. So that that also can help some guys, and you see like six
Yeah.
men come on and they score really quickly straight away. So that's what Bill's going to do more than likely.
Alright, so one more shooting guard play that I do like, but it might be hard to get him in, is Langston Galloway. Because we've just found out that Carmelo Anthony will not be playing, and Galloway will be starting in his place. And also Lance Thomas is not playing for New York, so they're going to be pretty depleted today. And Langston has been in some pretty excellent form recently, especially when Melo's not in the lineup, he plays even better. So let's just have a look at his recent scores. So you take out that 14.8 and he's on fire, right? That's
Some
just
really good production
exceptional. And this one, I think I remember, no, actually I think this 34.9 Melo might have been playing, but this 36.5 Melo was out.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just performs so well when Melo's not in the lineup, and I think, I don't know, it's so hard because we've already spent next to no salary, so to get in another cheapie, like maybe downgrade Bill to Langston Galloway, that just makes saving even more cash. So yeah, that's a tough one. Galloway, I think, will be very widely owned today, and rightfully so. And I'm certainly considering him myself. So they're the best plays of the day. So let's just go over the rest quick. Yay or nay? Dwayne Wade?
No.
No. Giannis we covered. Rodney Hood, a guy that we usually love.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know why, but that extra 200 of salary,
Yeah.
I guess, has scared us off a little bit there.
Yeah, and Milwaukee aren't great defensively, but one of the positions they do defend well is the shooting guard position, thanks to Chris Middleton. But yeah, no for me. Joe Johnson? Been in some great form for an old lad.
Don't generally go near Joe Johnson.
Aflalo Smith-Reddick, your boy.
Well, Flalo's an interesting one because we've spoke about his usage rate when Melo's out,
Yeah.
and talking about it today, he's starting at small forward, and I think that playing at small forward against Tony Allen, that's the only issue there for me, because usually when Melo's in, I'd be happy to play him, but his matchup today against Memphis, and he's probably going to get the best defender now, and I'm a little bit worried. That's the only thing that scares
Yeah,
me
he
off.
will. He should be locked down. So I think we avoid Aaron Aflalo. I think Galloway is the Knicks player of the day. Although Robin Lopez was unreal.
It was great yesterday.
Yeah. So yeah, that basically covers the best one. The rest we will cover when we come back over our lineup at the end. So moving on to small forward. I'll jump in first with someone that's almost a lock in my lineup right now. It's LeBron James, the only elite in play at small forward today. He's been in very consistent form over the last four, and even before that, he was very, very good. But I think tomorrow, the last loss against Charlotte will just light a fire under LeBron today. I think
Generally does happen.
He's got to come out and prove that they're not the kind of team that loses to the Hornets. To not only to the Hornets, but the Hornets without their best player.
Yeah.
So I think he comes out today and just proves a point. And I think you can probably back him in just based on his recent form and his consistency. But I think the narrative of just kind of a point to prove is going to be enough to put him into the top tier of plays for the day. So he's in my lineup, especially in this situation where we have a ridiculous amount of salary left over. So who do you like today?
Yeah, I just sorry, and I also think that with the narrative of LeBron there, they're playing another Eastern Conference rival, the Celtics. They could come against them in the playoffs,
Yeah,
so that's another
LeBron
thing.
and the Celtics have a long history.
He likes to sort of cement his standings there against them, but I'll leave one of the guys there for you because I know there's another player that you like, and one I'll throw out there is Otto Porter, and the reason I looked at him was because I was looking over at defense versus position, obviously in the small forward, and they're up against Philly, and Philly's the second worst team, I believe, and he's not in the best of form, but he's come back from injury and his minutes are slowly increasing, and we see he played a pretty good game in his last one against Golden State, and against the worst small forward defense, hopefully his minutes are back and he could see one of those 30s that he was putting up before he got injured. So I think that this might be a time to play him as a bit of a contrarian pick. I'm not going to chuck him in a double up lineup because I think we've got two better picks, but I do like him as a point of difference maybe in a tournament because I think the other two guys are going to be pretty solidly owned as well.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think he's a really good play, but I think LeBron has to be played just because of salary. Yeah. And I've got another guy that I'm going to play. But another thing with Otto Porter and the guy I'm going to mention, they're in the highest scoring game of the day.
Yeah.
Like the over/under on this is huge. So I think the more exposure you can get to this game, the better off you will be. So even if you play him, I mean Bradley Beal's in the game as well, but the guy that I want to play is on the other side of the ball. That's Robert Covington. Same price as Otto, I believe. Yes, he is 5'4".
Yeah.
Let's chuck him in and have a quick look at his stats. He's been really good, like just really good. And people might be deterred by this 13.2, but don't be. Like that's the outlier here. Before that, he was just so good and so consistent. Like once he got back into that starting lineup, and I think if a guy like this has a floor of 20, that's good enough. At 5'4", that's not even 4 times value, but I think his floor's a little bit above 20. And the thing about him is he gets a lot of his fantasy points from defensive production, like blocks and steals and stuff. And that's what I love to see. Like, you want to see people chucking shots up, and he does that. And you want to see people getting the defensive stats because they're just so valuable in this. And at one point, this guy was leading the league in steals, and it wasn't even close. Like, I think then Jay Crowder took him over or something.
I think we saw that stretch where he had, I think it was like 21 steals in 3 games or something. It was like 7 a game for an insane stretch. How silly is that? That's ridiculous, right? So if you can have one of those, 5+ steal games, that just gives you a massive boost to your lineup. And from a guy that's only 5'4", he's got potential to get 5 steals. That's massive. So.
Yeah, and basically the cherry on top of the cake for me is high scoring game of the day, and now if I'm playing Beal and Covington, I have someone on both sides of the ball, which is always something I like to do in those like really high over-under games. So I think he's certainly in contention for me today. So are there any more small forward plays you like? It's pretty shallow today, really.
Yeah, it is pretty shallow. I mean, I looked at Michael Gilchrist obviously because he's been in some good form since his return, but Miami's a slow-paced game, and I'm not sure it's a great matchup. Is it going to be hard for him to put up any kind of offensive production against some good defenders? But then also he's not really going to be that utilised on defence because he's going to be playing on guys to play off the ball, and he might jump on to Wade and do a good job against him. But I'm just a little bit worried against Miami because it's not a high-scoring game. The over-under is only 194, so that's what does deter me there.
Yeah, I think the salary is a little bit too high, I think, today. Where did he start? I think he was at 3.7 here. Yeah. Jumped up to 3.9. Jumped up to 4.7 or 4.9 he was at yesterday. Now he's up to 5k. That's just too much, especially against the Heat. Avoid MKG today, I think, when you can pay up an extra 400 and get Covington or Otto Porter.
Yep.
But and I don't even know what this one means. Just on my screen here, do you know what that one is, Trent? Field goal attempted consistency.
So I think that just means that sort of one game he'll take 1 jump shot, and then the next game he might take 10. So he's not getting the same amount of shots. Look
at that rate. That's awful. Like this stat we've got in front of us is just he's subterranean level when it comes to that stat. So they're the small forward plays. We'll quickly have a look at the high price ones, but then we'll move on and come back to it once our lineup is more set in stone. So Paul George, don't like him at all. Decent matchup.
Yeah, no, don't. Like I was thinking the same thing as I said in one of the last ones. I always like Paul George at this kind of price because he's only 8,300, but he can always go for that 50 like he did against Clippers. So in a tournament, I think he's always a great play because he's an elite player at his best, and he's not at an elite price anymore. So he's always worth a look.
Yeah, it seems weird to say because one of them is 2,900 cheaper than the other.
Yeah.
But I think Covington and Porter are both better plays than Paul George.
Yeah.
Safer plays. Like, it's crazy to say, but because if you get stung by one of these in a double up,
there's a few of those there in the teens and in the early 20s. So
yeah, he's been struggling recently, so I'm gonna definitely avoid that. He came out and was talking about it, how they're just how he called it taking some of the weight off his shoulders, but really they're just not giving him the shots anymore, really. But yeah, so they're the big ones. Carmelo Anthony obviously out. Gordon Hayward is a guy I like today, but the over-under for that is, I think, 189, which is so low that I don't really want to risk it. He's a decent enough play just because the matchup is good. But yeah, I think there are better plays to be had.
Yep.
Rudy Gay, if the sack players don't go, if any of those guys can't go, then I think he's good. But yeah, outside of that, everyone is kind of in the middling territory where their salary is perfectly matched to their performance. and the matchups aren't good enough to recommend them as strong play.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that one once we've got our lineup set. Although I have a feeling our lineup is going to be pretty just set after we go through our best plays.
Yeah, I feel like today the good plays are pretty obvious in a lot of situations.
Yeah. Chalky as hell. It's going to be crazy. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to submit this lineup and see just a 40% ownership next to every player here, like at least. So at power forward, do you want to jump in first with your first play?
Yeah, I'll go for Boogie. Why not?
Yeah, the
Love
big
Boogie.
man.
And he's been in some excellent form. I mean, he's had a couple down games against Portland, which, I mean, that was on the night on a back-to-back after a double overtime where he put up a career high, like 52 points or whatever it was, and 75.4 fantasy points. So it was going to be tied. And then the Memphis game, I think he come out injured, and because he'd been working so hard that he just, I guess, had a bit of a load build up, and that's where he needed a rest. He had a little bit of a rest and come back against Chicago and was in great form. So I expect to see him continue with that on. And even though he's priced at 11,200, he's in a great matchup against Brooklyn. And I think that this game also going to about 214 points. So I expect Boogie to contribute to that heavily. And I think another score on the 50s should be very well welcomed.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. The matchup is excellent, high over under. Everything's just lining up for a big Boogie day. But a few weeks ago, it might have been last week or sometime, you and Jake were saying if Boogie is playing, if the Kings are playing, you're putting Boogie in your team.
Yep.
Did that change at all when he was putting up these lower scores, or was he always just a play? Because I mean, he goes for this every other time.
I still played him in those games, and obviously against Portland it hurt a little bit. And I mean, it does happen, but I think that you look at the rest of that list, and DeMarcus Cousins is playing basketball. Get him in your team seems to be a good thing to say.
Yeah, especially today. Everything's lining up. We've got the salary left. The matchup is excellent. We're going to back him in. So the next play I'll chuck out there is Derek Favors. Now, this is a guy who came back from injury, was ridiculously low priced, and they've finally got it back to where he should be. I think he could maybe be a little bit more expensive, but not too much. I think when he was kind of operating in peak physical form earlier this year, I think he was priced around 7.2, that then kind of got up to 7.9, but that was too high. But I think 6.4 is still a mark where you automatically play him. Let's have a look at what he did to Denver just quickly. On the streams recently, we've been talking about the fact that Denver just get blocked so much, like an absurd amount. And look at what he did against Denver. So that's something to keep in mind for the Chicago players today as well.
Pau Gasol was
Pau Gasol. But yeah, he's been in excellent form. Even before that 6 blocks, he had 4 against the Bulls himself. So if you get any of these, even at 6'4", 28.6 is under 5 times, but I think it's good enough when you've got two elites in your team. So he's still just not quite priced enough that you have to avoid him. And a good matchup. Milwaukee haven't been good on the season against power forwards. I think on the season they're 4th worst in the league. Yes, 4th worst. So Derek Favors. It depends if many people get turned off by the fact that he has gone up, I think, 1,200 in the last day or two. If people don't get turned off by that, I think we expect to see him play like 50+%, but I don't think he's a very good fade. So I think that's one of the main reasons to get him in, because everyone will have him and he's not a good fade. So certainly consider him for your team today. Anyone else you like at power forward today? How are we looking? Sorry, holy cow.
One guy that I think is interesting, basically because of the matchup, is Thad Young, and he's come off a pretty good game. He had 30.3 in the last one. His form, besides that's been up and down, but you can see there, Detroit's not a great matchup. Well, they probably are against power forwards actually, but Miami's not a great matchup. But then against guys like Dallas and New Orleans, they're pretty good matchups, and I think he's done well in the good matchups there. So in another good matchup, like we said, the over-runner's 213.5. You probably wanted to get someone on both sides of the ball, and Thad Young's probably a good guy to get in there.
Yeah, Kings 3rd worst in the league over the last 5 against power forwards. And just sorting by this now, a little off topic, but what about this? Spurs all of a sudden just giving up points.
Crazy.
What's happening there? Who knows? But that's another another conversation
Might
for
delve
another
deeper
day.
into that for the next one,
Yep.
so I can
But
have
yeah.
something to say about it.
Another one where it's just an excellent matchup, and Thad Young, remember when he had that run where he was just unbelievable because he was getting like 3 steals, 2 blocks a game on top of his 10 rebounds, 15 to 20 points. I think he's such a good fantasy player. He's one of the ones where, not in daily fantasy, in season-long fantasy, especially categories, he's an absolute stud. And I think for a while there, that really translated to DFS. He was really consistent with it. But then he kind of died off, and as such, his price has come down. Like, he got up to high 7K at some point.
Which does look good in a favour. Like, he's come out just in time for this good matchup, which does look good for us DFS players.
Oh, yeah. Look, this is an excellent matchup. And, yeah, once again, one of the highest scoring games of the day. Like, he's one that I would certainly consider if I was trying to save salary and not play DeMarcus Cousins.
Yep.
But it's looking like DeMarcus Cousins is a big play today, so it's probably not going to happen. But that's just personal taste, how people want to build their teams, really. So, yeah, we'll cover the rest of the big ones.
Although, one thing I think we need to consider there is Derek Favors for Thad Young. If you have the extra 100 in salary, I mean, would you play Thad Young over Favors?
Tournament, yes. I think tournament, yes, because like I said before, Derek Favors' ownership should be pretty high, and like the contrarian play, especially if it's such a strong one like Thad Young, could like cash you pretty easily if he outscores Derek Favors.
Yeah.
That's a win almost, because so many people will have Favors.
Especially if it is a nice sort of, say Derek Favors gets you 25, but Thad Young goes for 35. That's a nice little jump.
Oh yeah, that's
in your
huge.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically the head-to-head of the day, I would say. Like, even though with the point guards we had all those players priced around 5K, and they're all good players, I think the head-to-head of the day is Derek Favors versus Thad Young. Like, who do you go there?
Yep.
I'm leaning Favors for double-up, but tournament,
I think
it's
I
Thad
agree.
Young. Yeah. So we'll cover the rest once we're glossing over our lineup at the end, but for the center position, we have one unanimous play pretty much for the day. There are more that are worth a look, but we'll start with the unanimous one. Do you want to start us off?
No, I'll let you talk about your boy.
Alright,
I'll go for it. I know you want to.
Alright, he is the future of the Denver Nuggets and the future of the NBA. Nikola Jokic, the Joker. He's been unbelievable. He does everything, this guy. Like, you watch his highlights from Europe, and you're like, oh, this guy can play. And then you watch his highlights from the NBA, and you're like, oh, this guy can play at the top level. And that's exactly what he's been doing. He's been unbelievable. Look at these scores. And that's because he's an excellent rebounder. He's an excellent scorer. He's got the 3-point stroke. And he's been kind of lifting his defensive game a bit, because that's where he is weak. He's not a good defender. But as far as just defensive box score, he's going all right. And he passes the ball. He's got 2 of the best passes of the year in the NBA this season, and I watch them on repeat every day. They're gorgeous. This one, no look, turn around and throw over the top. I think that one was against the Heat, and it was gorgeous. But yeah, this guy, he's gone up in price. This is a guy who at the start of the season was minimum price, and rightly so. It's his first real year in the league. But he has gone up to 6'2", which you look at, and that's almost out of reach for a lot of guys. Like, that's the level where I start considering, is the matchup good enough? But with Jokic, firstly, the matchup is good enough today, but I would consider him even in a neutral one today just because of his form. Like, you look at this, a 49.8 against Toronto. Toronto are good defensively, but Jokic is just getting it done somehow. And yeah, that was obviously in a game where he rebounded at a career high. But yeah, Utah, that was a quiet game. He only had 8.6 rebounds, 4 assists this game. But if that is a quiet game, then
that's insane.
Yeah, in a favourable matchup like the Bulls today, you've got to back him in. Because if you don't, and he goes for even a 30, 35 again, you're laughing. And I don't think he's as strong of a tournament play as a doubler. But I don't think he needs to be, because I think in double-ups, he's the only real option. Because, I mean, look how that fits in with our salary.
Yeah.
And we've got the best plays of the day in there. That's ridiculous. Such a chalk day today, but...
It is a chalk day.
If we're looking at other centres, is there anyone you like?
I actually just want to go a little bit over Jokic a little bit more. Like
All
I
right,
said,
go for it.
passing, you spoke about how good he is. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be thrown into the league and one of the best passing big men because he's so good.
And not to mention, they actually like running the offense.
And they
just give it to
great
him.
passer.
They give him the ball in the post and let everyone just move around him, and they just go to work. It's awesome to watch.
Reads the floor so well, and I'm just going to bring out a quote here from Mike Malone because not many people might not know Jokic. They might not know how good he is. Denver doesn't get a lot of coverage. They're not a great team, but this is what the coach had to say about him. I mean, he said, you can talk about some of these young bigs who are very talented. The kid in New York, Minnesota, Philly. I don't really know their names, but I do know this guy's name though, Nikola Jokic, and I wouldn't trade him for anybody. He's a special young man, a special talent, and he's going to be great in the NBA. So
how good is
that's
that?
Big raps from the coach. And to be honest, I think that he is going to be in a category with guys like Towns and Porzingis and Okafor. I think he's definitely as good as these guys. Like his potential is definitely just as high. So I think that he's definitely one that people are going to have to pay attention to in future.
Yeah, he's a player that I really like, fantasy-wise and in general. Like, it's actually almost a bad thing for the Nuggets because now what do we do with Nurkic and Laverne?
Yeah.
They were talking about Laverne today. They want at the minimum a late first rounder for him, and I think that's fair. Laverne's been good. And the reason that he's even on the block is this guy. Nikola Jokic has made him redundant.
Laverne can pass and shoot it himself, and he can handle it.
We have some incredible young bigs, but we just can't hold them all. You see, off topic, the Blake Griffin rumours for the Nuggets.
I didn't see that.
Oh man.
Wouldn't you hate it if they gave Jokic away for Griffin?
The thing is, they've probably got to.
Yeah, I'd have to give away someone decent. Although the talk was for Reed and Gallo, and you'd be even more upset about that, I think.
Oh, I'd be furious if they gave up Gallinari. I don't know if this will work. I don't think won't even worry about it. But yeah, so Jokic is the play at centre, but I think there are other plays purely based on salary. I think if you're spending, I don't think you consider spending less than 6K, but if you have the salary to go up, I like Brook Lopez today. Just because, once again, we've been over it with the other Brooklyn players and the other Kings players. High scoring matchup in order against Sacramento, and a good matchup for Brook Lopez. And the other way around, like the centers for the Kings will just put in a lot of work against Brooklyn. But yeah, here we go. Over the last 59.4 points a game to centers. That's pretty ridiculous, really. Second worst in the league. And he's been excellent. This last one's a bit of a letdown, but before that, that's unbelievable. Yeah, and there was a period earlier in the year, let me try find it, where he was doing the exact same thing. Like just 3 in a row of huge games, just over and over, really. But yeah, he's one of the guys. I like him from a fantasy point of view because of his scoring, but he's never been a good rebounder. He's been a slightly above average blocker, but the way that he gets his points is by scoring. So if you're willing to back that in at an elite price, then I think he's a good play in a favourable matchup. But yeah, it's just hard to look past Jokic on a day like today.
Yeah, I think in a similar kind of price range too, you could look at Vucevic a little bit cheaper if you wanted to go elite, and he's got a pretty good matchup against the Clippers, who we spoke about have been pretty bad. He has got a down game there, 26 and a 29, so it's not great, but I think we spoke, the Clippers have been pretty bad over the last 5. It's a 50.3 per game, and Vucevic has had some good games recently. Obviously, there's a couple down ones, but in a good matchup, it could be a pretty good play. And I think we were talking about it last time as well with centres. DeAndre Jordan's obviously a great rim protector, but he doesn't like to step out as much, and we know that Vucevic has got that mid-range game, so I think that he really could have a good one against DeAndre because it's not an easy matchup for DeAndre, a guy who's as skilled as Vucevic. So
yeah, I think. And on the other end, I don't like DJ at all. And it's a weird one. If there's a guy that I don't like, do I like the guy that's going against him? In this case, yes. Vucevic will be very good today. And that's a weird thing to say because Vuce is a great rebounder. But do you count on him out-rebounding DeAndre?
More so just the scoring. I think we've seen in the last game he struggled to get the rebounds against OKC, so I'm not expecting a big 12 or 13 rebound game. Hopefully 7 or 8 and 20 odd points, I think.
When we were discussing the OKC Orlando game on stream, and we were discussing Eric Gordon, you mentioned about how OKC rebound really well, and that Gordon might struggle to get rebounds. Well, Gordon kind of got his, but Vucevic just got nothing. He just got like the scraps. Alright, so Vucevic is in play as well, but the other guys, like at a premium price, Hassan Whiteside coming off the bench today, you don't want to trust all these guys like that. But yeah, Nikola Jokic is almost the go-to today.
I think he's going to have a really good game against the Bulls.
Alright, so looking at this lineup, it fits almost perfectly. But there is 700. Is there any way you make a change here?
I'd have to go through, I guess, by the position and see if there were anything that looked
So
good.
the plays that we've discussed that didn't get in, George Hill at point guard.
Is lower.
Yep, and Langston Galloway at shooting guard. So
is he at 4'6"?
4'6". Yep.
So he's just a little bit...
200 off from going up to Ellington. You can make 100 of that going Moutier to George Hill. So that's even more annoying because you're so close. And what was Thad was 100 above, right?
Yep.
So Derek Rose down to George Hill, Ellington up to Galloway, Favors up to Thad Young works, I think. But you don't even have to make the Thad Young Favors on. But yeah, do alright, so head to head. Rose and Ellington versus Hill and Galloway. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one because you're taking the cheapie with a high floor and a low ceiling, and the mid-ranger with a high ceiling and a decent enough floor against George Hill, who's kind of got a bit of both. I don't know. He's got a questionable floor and a questionable ceiling. And Langston Galloway, who is in line for a big game.
See, obviously, I like the Galloway play better than Ellington.
Yeah.
I would much rather play Galloway, but I don't think I want to play George Hill over Derrick Rose. Is the issue there.
That's the real issue. And the thing is, I don't think there's any good plays around the price of these other guys. So it's a really tough one because I want to get Galloway in if possible.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's just looking so hard. Let's have a quick look at the point guards.
That's what I was thinking.
Emmanuel Moutier, I like him a lot, but if we can save that 200...
The one thing that I wouldn't mind, we talked about Etwan Moore. I think that, I, especially in tournament, I would like this, but I would like an Etwan Moore for Moutier and then go up to Galloway. But that's obviously, we need to check up on the Butler news. And
I'm about to refresh the news now, but yeah, Etwan Moore, that's a huge...
That's a risk.
Huge risk, right? But I like it. Like, that's a tournament play, if ever there was one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just pending news, really, for Butler. Jay Crowder confirmed in.
A little bit of a worry for
and there we go. M. Smith. Bradley Beal is starting. He's shifted into the starting lineup. Garrett Temple to the bench.
So obviously that means that his usage and his minutes are going up.
And I was just about to suggest, do we even consider going down from Bradley Beal to Galloway? I don't know if we do anymore.
You think that means that sort of minutes restrictions been lifted if he's back in the starting lineup? So I would think that we like Bradley Beal even more so now.
Yep. Just giving a quick reply here, but yeah, Bradley Beal just became a much more attractive play.
Well, there's one that I'll quickly throw out because we were talking about shedding some salary, and I know we like Covington, but I've got Wesley Johnson here. He's actually been in some pretty good form. I mean, he's had 2 games over 25 in the last 5. He's priced about 4.3. He's had a couple down games in between there. He only had a 14.9 and 18.9, but he's coming off a 27.1 game and he's been getting around to 25 minutes. I mean, do we like maybe Wesley Johnson there? I think it's a pretty good matchup for him. But the real question is it worth dropping down from Covington to get Galloway in like that?
I think Covington's one of the safer plays of the day. But that's one of the more interesting combos for sure. Like, Wesley Johnson, what over/under on his ownership today? Jeez.
Oh, it wouldn't be very high, you wouldn't expect.
It could be as low as 3%.
Coming off a good game, there might be a few people that have seen it.
Yeah, I think that's a very nice game there. But the trouble is these ones here. So if he was priced at like 3.8, I'd probably consider it if this is his floor. but I don't want to chase that score if he might go for something as low as that.
I think the thing with me for Wesley Johnson, I actually think that he's a good long-term option for them there. Like, if he can just keep working on his three-point stroke in the club, he should get more minutes because he's defensively, he can defend, and he looks like he can defend at least. And if he can develop his shooting, he could be the 3-and-D wing that they really need. So I think they need to give him more time, but it's just for fantasy implications, this is whether or not they're going to give him that more time.
Players like this are the ones I kind of always root for because I think he went before DeMarcus Cousins in his draft.
He was number 4 in the draft.
Yeah, and Cousins was 5.
Yeah.
And I always root for those guys because obviously Cousins has come out and become a superstar, and then everyone's like, oh, well, can you believe they took Wesley Johnson before DeMarcus Cousins? Yes, because DeMarcus Cousins may have gone 5th, but he was the 3rd ranked prospect in that draft behind John Wall and Evan Turner. But the only reason he went 5th is because no one needed that position. So people always like give a hard time to these guys that are like, oh, can you believe they took Wesley Johnson? Can you believe they took Evan Turner? That's not their fault. He broke his back. He's always going to have troubles. But yeah, just a quick Twitter notification I was seeing. But yeah, I always root for guys like Wesley Johnson, but I don't think I want to back him in fantasy until he starts showing a bit more.
Yeah.
But that is a tournament play, I think, if you were looking to get in Galloway, which I think most people will be, me included. It's an interesting one, though. Because what do you save there? 1,100. That allows you to go straight up.
Straight up, and then that's the only one we really need to upgrade there. But I think that I like the lineup as it is.
I think it's very strong,
especially like safety-wise. Like there's ways you could risk it and get Galloway in there, but like we said before, chalk lineup, pretty safe there. I mean, it's going to be pretty consistent, you'd think. I don't think there's too much we need to change. These guys aren't bad players by any stretch, so we don't need to get them out of the lineup at all, I don't think.
No, alright, so last attempt to get Galloway in. Of all these players, who is, like, not Ellington, because he's who we want to upgrade, who is the one you are most likely to downgrade? I think you were right with it being Covington. I just think the downgrade to Wesley Johnson was a bit steep.
There's not, because when we spoke about the position before, the small forward position, there's not a lot there.
Well, one that works, but I was discussing how I'm not a fan of him today. Covington down to MKG, even that does enough salary to get us up to...
I mean, in his form, MKG looks like he'd go for a 25, but
it is a
bad matchup.
But who just burned the heat? Chandler Parsons smashed him, right? He smoked him. Went for 35 or something.
Yeah. I know we talked about Jokic, but there actually are other good centre options, I think. Like, he's the best of the day, Jokic is, but...
Struggled hard. Who beat the Heat? Someone smoked the Heat. Sorry, go again.
Jokic, we did say he was the best centre position of the day, but there are some other decent options there, I guess. I don't really want to go down from him, but it depends how much you really like him. Do you like him more than Galloway? That's the question, I guess.
I do.
Yeah, I like the guy there as well.
Because him down to Miles Turner or Jordan Hill, they certainly make sense as decent fantasy plays, just not as good as Jokic, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either.
But, oh man, Galloway, I feel like if we don't get him in, he could just burn our line up big time. Because he's in line for a monster.
He could have 30 from his 4,600 salary, so...
Yeah. What about your boy Willie Cauley-Stein? What's happened to him lately?
Minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes have been the big issue, and I don't know what they're going to do with him. Their defense was so much better with him in the lineup, but George Carl's gone away with it, which I'm not really sure of.
So M. Smith has just tweeted in, MKG, or is his matchup against the Heat not the best? It's not, but his form has been good enough. But the thing about MKG is I just don't trust him as a fantasy play because he doesn't take a whole lot of shots.
Like that field goal attempt consistency.
Yeah. And the thing is, he has a great field goal percentage. So if he takes 9 shots, he'll make 5 of them, most likely. That's because he gets to the rim. He doesn't take jumpers, and that's a good thing because he doesn't have a jumper. But I don't really trust him from a fantasy perspective just because it's not a great matchup. And I just don't like people who won't take double-digit shots, and that's MKG.
Yep.
But yeah, if I quickly get up the Heat against small forwards, We'll have a quick
We're
look,
really
but-
struggling here because we do want
Yeah,
Galloway.
please. Oh, like there's nothing wrong at all with our lineup
Would
right
you
now.
would you downgrade Bradley Beal to Galloway and then maybe upgrade
I think I would.
elsewhere?
I'm a big fan of Bradley Beal today, especially now that he's back in the starting lineup. But, oh man, the Galloway play could just be a game changer. Yeah, the Heat have been a dreadful matchup for small forwards. But the thing is, he gets minutes of power forward, but either way, Chris Bosh is their defensive anchor, and you don't really want to go against him either. Man, this is... I can't believe I'm considering going against one of my favourite players of the day in Bradley Beal. But
I think I'd almost downgrade DeMarcus
Let's-
Cousins.
you would?
I think because
Jeez.
just because I mean that's a big salary, and if you can get I don't think you're going to get anywhere close to it. But if you could, I mean, I'm looking at Pau Gasol, and we spoke about Denver getting blocks, and I don't know if Pau's really going to go for a 40 or a 45, which is what you'd need him to get. But I mean, if he does get his blocks,
Yeah.
he's a chance. But I don't know.
Pau Gasol, he's... I don't know.
None of these guys are
He's
good
so
enough,
solid.
though. Yeah, he's solid, but I just don't think I can. Like,
Denver is a great matchup for him too.
so usually I find that
I don't mind that.
if you're stuck in this situation, like you do get rid of your elite player and you jump him down, instead of 11,000 you go to a guy that's 10.
Yeah.
Because that's like a good way of, if the guy that's in a 10k in a good matchup, they generally produce fairly similar. That's usually the best way to save your salary, but yeah, I worry a little bit about Boogie.
Yeah, Boogie down to Pau Gasol is too much salary
He's
now.
a heap small.
But then, where do you upgrade? That's the big question. Because I don't think you upgrade Rose. He's
No.
a great play today. Moutier, there's probably no one in reach. There's MC Dub, who was coming off a decent game, right? I think he was decent.
I've actually
Oh no,
got
he had a decent one and then an awful one.
I've got an idea.
Alright, let's hear it.
So Derrick Rose, John Wall at point guard against Philly.
Yep.
We've got Langston Galloway in there. Go to power forward. Get rid of Pau Gasol, and
Okay,
let's
yeah.
just have a look. So 5'9", I'm looking at a couple guys. Derek Williams with no Mello in is an interesting one.
Very interesting.
We've got Aaron Gordon there. We do have enough Aaron Gordon actually, I believe. We've got
Yeah, we do.
5'9", he's 5'2", and we've been interested in him recently. A couple other guys we'd have enough money for. Yeah, Derek Williams, I guess, and Aaron Gordon are probably the two players there.
Yeah,
And
if
do you
Aaron
think
Gordon
that Aaron Gordon's going to be
bounces
back to where he was?
It's a tough one, right? It's a very tough one. I mean, I'd like to say yes. I'm a huge fan of him. I'm a huge fan of the fact he's in the dunk contest just based on his pure athleticism, but let's face it, they're just lining up people for Zach LaVine to slaughter in that competition. It's gonna be great to watch, but yeah, it's Zach LaVine's competition to lose here. Aaron Gordon against the Clippers as a power forward matchup. I don't really know.
I don't mind that because it's only sort of Paul Pierce and Mute that he's coming up against. So it's not
Yeah, Mbar Mude's a good defender though, but
yeah, but he just only plays 15 a game sort of thing, and then Paul Pierce and even Wesley Johnson jump in there. Wesley's not a bad defender, but
yeah. Alright, where are we? There we go. So slightly better matchup over the last 10, but it's questionable. Very questionable. How they... I don't know. This is torture. It's these weird decisions.
I think I like the chalk lineup at the start without
the
Galloway.
chalk is good, but
We want that. Yeah.
Galloway. Oh man. Just don't do us dirty, alright? We're getting rid of you.
Sorry, Galloway.
Yeah, you've... Oh man, we could regret that. But
Well,
I think the alternative is very unobjectionable. I don't think there's anything wrong with Ellington at all.
By all means, though, for anyone that has the salary to add Galloway,
Yeah, it's
100% do it. If you don't like any of our plays,
If you
move
like,
down.
yeah, for example, if you like the downgrade from Boogie, then that's probably the way to get Galloway in. But yeah,
Yeah, I think I like a downgrade from Boogie and go someone in the mid-range of power forward and chuck Wall in if I was going to downgrade Boogie, because I think that John Wall's probably the he's at least in my top 3 elite options for the day. I do like him against Philly.
I think he's probably top 2 for me. I think I like him more than LeBron. It's just LeBron over every other small forward.
Yeah, I think actually
pretty
you're right
dramatic.
I would have to agree with that. I like Wall more than LeBron as well, but yeah, there's not much else to go for a small forward. And
yeah. Although we did see one of the last streams we were doing that the Ish Smith factor has made Philly not awful against point guards recently.
Which makes
Pretty
no
crazy.
sense.
Yeah. He's not exactly a lockdown defender,
No.
so how's it happening?
And he's not overpowering anyone with his size, so...
Nope. Alright. So this is the one. Is this the one?
Yeah, I think so. Just before lockout, we've got it
Yeah, this is the chalk.
solidified.
But there's so many different options. I'll tweet this out real quick. But yeah, how this is a big day. And that's the plus side of like the huge 10-game slate.
Is this
It's
everyone
crazy.
that we wrote about today? I think that it's...
It is. This is the lineup we actually wrote about in our picks. Yes, it is.
And then it is. And then we went back to it. Once we that's... I suppose it's got to be the chalk lineup. We've written about it.
Yeah. I have this weird feeling of like doomsday approaching when Galloway goes for 35 though.
Maybe just mention final live stream lineup. Really wanted Galloway in. Couldn't get him in.
Yeah.
Let everyone know that we wanted the Galloway.
Yeah. Oh man. So who are we looking at? Derrick Rose,
Moutier.
Emmanuel Mudiay, Bradley Beal. Oh, see, even just reeling off these names, they're all great picks. Wayne Ellington, LeBron James, Robert Covington, DeMarcus Cousins, Derek Favors, and Nikola Jokic. Yeah, that's an excellent lineup. It's just, how scared are you of Langston? And today I'm pretty damn scared. Alright.
Lineup set.
Oh, what's happening here, Jake, and your silly little...
Grimley.
Actually, I had Grimley on. I had to turn
Grimley's
it off.
pretty cool, I think. I like it. Works well for me.
So yeah, least objectionable lineup here, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our lineup for the day. We hope you like it. I hope you've got some tips from it. Even if you play it yourself, we hope you have success with it, which we think you will. I think it's a pretty safe double up one. Yeah, if you do make other plays, I hope we discussed them a bit for you. Got a little bit of insight into them. But yeah, I think this is one of the big 10-game slates where you can't go wrong, which is awesome because that's what makes DFS just such a good experience when there's no wrong answer. Like, unless you're playing like a one-winner tournament, like winner takes all, then there's a wrong answer. But yeah, so Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Mudiay, Bradley Beal, Wayne Ellington, LeBron James, Robert Covington, DeMarcus Cousins, Derek Favors, Nikola Jokic. Let's play the can it go for Trent's top score game. Alright, so let's ask basically, can they go for 7 times value? Can Derrick Rose get a 35?
Yeah, I think he can.
Can Mudiay get a 35?
I don't know.
I think he can, but I wouldn't count it.
No,
I wouldn't bet on it.
that.
Can Bradley Beal go for a 35?
Definitely.
Yeah, especially back in the starting lineup. Wayne Ellington, can he go for like a 23, 22, 23?
Yeah, I'd give him that for sure.
I think he certainly can. I think the 16 as his floor is excellent. LeBron James, can he go for 70? No, but you don't need him to. You need him to go for a 60.
60.
Yep. Covington, can he go for 35? I think so.
He
goes for it,
one of those 5 steal games or 3 or 4 steals and you're there.
Boogie, can he go for 70? Yep.
We can.
He has.
He has. I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a big 40-point game, like 40.
Yeah.
But yeah.
These ones you want a 60 though. If you want a
Yeah.
60 from him there, and that's basically what we're expecting. Derek Favors, can he go for a 40? Yeah,
we've seen him
40,
go for
42.
60s this season, I think, so you can go for a 42.
And Jokic, same thing, 40-42. He just went for
Yep.
49 against the Raptors. Yeah.
And this is a better matchup for sure,
Yep.
so I would love to see it.
So I don't know if it's quite at the 380, but I think this has like a 360 ceiling with a 280 floor. So
Yeah.
I think it's a very good head-to-head lineup with a bit of tournament potential.
There's a lot of good tournament plays in there, so...
Yeah. Alright, we'll have a quick last check of the news before we wrap. But yeah, this has been a pretty good one. Great slate. Easy picks really, but easy easy picks with difficult ultimatums. Like the base lineup, the base recipe is good, but do you add that extra spice, that extra Langston Galloway?
So I suppose while we're looking through the picks, are there any games you're interested in watching today? Maybe outside of the Nuggets against the Bulls?
I'll be tuning into that for sure. And just purely for fantasy implications, it's weird. I found myself watching a lot of Philadelphia games this season, just because they're such a good play against.
Yeah.
That I watch a lot of games there. But yeah, Cleveland versus Boston, just because of the LeBron James versus Boston history will be good. But yeah, mainly it's the Bulls Nuggets one for me. What do you got?
Surprisingly, I'm actually going to watch the Bulls and Nuggets myself.
Oh.
I'm interested. I like watching the Bulls, and I do like the young bigs that you've got on your Nuggets squad. I think it's looking good for the future, and I really want to watch Jokic in some of the form he's been in, because I caught him a little bit earlier, but I haven't seen any of his big games yet, so
yeah,
I'm hoping I can catch him in one today.
Yeah, I've only got to watch him a few times since he started getting his 30 minutes or so, but it's unbelievable. And it's weird because it used to be, I'd watch the game and just watch it as a basketball game, but I'd always gravitate to watch Gallo and watch what Gallo's doing on and off the ball. But now it's Jokic as well, so it's who do I track this play? It's Gallo or Jokic.
Because I do that with a few players as well, and I was watching the OKC against Orlando game last night, just rewatching it, and I was trying to watch Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook at the same time, especially defensively, and it's really hard because I was trying to you know how Kevin Durant sort of been saying he's a pretty good defender, and Russell Westbrook's not known as a great defender, so I was just trying to sort of watch for examples of the thing. And yeah, it's hard to keep an eye on two guys at once.
I think tomorrow is going to be an insane one. We got the Thunder versus the Warriors. That's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
The one you're going to be watching there is Russell Westbrook, because it will be how close does he tag Steph Curry, or do they just go Roberson for that, or is he out?
I think he's out at the moment, but I'm not sure when he's going to be back. It was meant to be soon.
Yeah, but Roberson would be a good.
The Warriors are a team that you have to re-watch, and then when a basket happens, you have to zoom it backwards so then you can watch how it actually occurred, because there's so much action going on off ball. It's how the hell did that even happen?
No, I always just find myself watching not even Steph Curry, the guy defending Steph Curry, because we all know what Curry's gonna do. It's just how close can you stay to him before he does what you know he's going to do, and more often than not, it's not very close. You can't stand very close to him. It's awesome to watch, and that the one that's always been best at that was Dellavedova, because he had no problems just holding on to him, really grabbing his jersey.
And the one thing I've noticed real recently with Steph, I've noticed you know how he's setting picks for his teammates a lot lately. You know how usually someone will set a pick, and if the other guy gets open, they'll help off the pick to sort of cover their teammate's man. They just don't leave Steph at all these days, and his teammate usually just runs in for an open layup, because no one wants to give Steph any space at all at the moment, because he's been that good. So it's really interesting watching that off-ball stuff with Steph Curry out there.
Yeah. All right. So let's have a quick wrap up. So we hope you've enjoyed the stream. We hope you've got some picks. We hope you have some success today. Big game slate, should be a lot of players on Moneyball. Hopefully you can start taking their cash away from them. And yeah, so for Over Under Talk, I have been Damien Karowski, aka DM Karowski. This is Trent Arnold, aka Trent Arnold NBA. We couldn't be joined today by Jake, aka Tachyon. Give him a follow on Twitter, as well as these two right here. But yeah, have a good day. I'm Damien.
Ball is life.
Ooh, sheesh.